Hey everyone, thank you for dropping by again. Today we're going to be going over question number 2 from worksheet 5. And before we get started on that question, let's go over how, how exceptions and error handling work. All right, so there's different implementations. One of them is like, how do we handle errors? And one of them is a try-catch block, right? So what we see here in this implementation in front of us is that, we try some code. And if this code like errors out and gives us some kind of exception, it's going to go to the catch statement. So this way, our code will not bug out completely. It will not completely stop. It will not completely fail running. You can handle these error situations. So your program will still be running without being interrupted or something, right? So as I said earlier, each error that is being thrown in your try statement will go to a catch statement that corresponds to that specific error, right? And then finally is always evaluated. Finally is always evaluated regardless of whether this code is faulty or not. And then outside of the loop, outside of the try catch statement is only being evaluated if your try did not have any errors. And the implementation below is just a little different, just in writing, we put in a variable within a try statement, just we don't need the finally anymore. Yeah, and on the other side, by catching errors, we can also obviously like throw errors, right? And this is one of the exceptions, is how you throw an error. For example, if we have this class cookies and we have price, and you want to calculate the price, but you can have a negative amount of cookies, right? So what we do here is we have a function called public int price, and it throws an exception if if we run out of number of cookies, or if x is smaller than 0, because obviously we can have negative cookies. And what we do is in our function signature, what we do is we do throws exception in this situation. Can be any kind of other exception as well. And then we throw this exception. So how you throw an exception is you throw a new exception. Don't forget the brackets. And inside you can put in any arguments that signify what error it is. Yeah, and something really important is that if this error is being thrown, the text inside here is not printed, but it's part of the error statement. So it's not printed. It's just like the red letters. It shows that it cannot go negative, for example, right? So that's something to keep into mind. A lot of people on the quiz were confused about is that they thought this was printed. No, it's not printed. Yeah. All right. Let's dive into question number 2, which is about exceptions, right? So we have this class test here, and it has a lot of functions like public void and a lot of functions that throw exceptions accordingly. So exception and display is just a print statement, or like printing the string, right? The status of the string. Okay, so let's evaluate the main. We initiate a new test object. Okay, nice. And we call A on it. So we do something to the string instance variable, and then we display it. Okay, so let's jump into function A here, right? All right, and our public status, I will represent it here, right? Or, I'm just gonna keep it in here. Status of the string. Let's say now, right? Okay. Now we see try statement. Or we evaluate A, right? A is being called, and we try something. Okay, we add B to it. That's not going to error out, so the string is going to be B. Now we call function B on it, right? B is being called on it, so we go in function B. We try to add B. Well, no error, so we just keep going. All right. Then we're going to go to C. Call function C. Oh, wait, see if there was a new exception, right? So if we did not have a try or catch statement, this program would just stop right here. But luckily we have a try catch statement, which makes us jump to this one, right? Exception. We're going to throw a new exception. But as you remember earlier, finally is always being evaluated. So before we even jump this back to up there, we want to make sure that we add the string E. And this finally statement is really useful if you want to take care of some errors or like handle errors before anything is done with them, right? Yeah. All right. So C is an error, so B is also an error, right? Since we threw a new exception in here. Okay. Now what's happening here is that it's an error. We go to our catch statement, and then we're going to add C to it. So the correct answer to this question is A, B, D, E, C. But what's more interesting is I might ask you some scenarios, right? So what if C did not produce an error? What would happen? I'll let you think for a while. And you can pause. All right, so what's happening is that if C was not erroring, then we would never evaluate the catch statement, right? And you would have evaluated finally, as we said earlier, we established earlier that the finally statement is always evaluated. But then you're also evaluating F. So if C was not erroring, if this was something like print, or, if we set it to hello, or, we just return nothing, would have just returned nothing, then our string would have been A, B, D, F, C. Or sorry, A, B, D, E, F, C. All right. That is all I have for today. And make sure to check out the other videos if you're still confused about it. Yeah, and thank you for watching this